Skip, Michael. See you in a little while. Yeah, sure. That was a good way. That was a good interview.
We are GrokTV.
And mine, and he's on 3.
Yep. And
Hello.
Hi.
We're just going to make sure that we've got you on camera.
All right.
Great.
And I'm going to let you introduce yourself to our listening audience.
Hi, my name's Ben Philpot. I am politics and policy reporter for KUT Radio in Austin, Texas. It is the NPR affiliate in Austin.
Well, welcome to our snow.
Yeah. I'm going to go make a snow angel after this.
So you are a long ways away, but you are from Senator Cruz's home state.
Yes.
And what are you following as a reporter today? Mm-hmm. What are you seeing from the New Hampshire people towards Senator Cruz?
Well, so, my only real experience with New Hampshire is I was here in 2011 and a little bit of 2012 following Governor Rick Perry, now former Governor Rick Perry, as he was running. It's been very interesting to kind of contrast the crowds and the reaction that Senator Cruz is getting compared to what Mr. Perry got back in 2011. The people here seem a little bit more excited about Cruz's campaign, at least. I mean, it's small sample size, 3 or 4 events. But the people here definitely seem a lot more enthusiastic about a Cruz candidacy. Of course, he is at the moment the only person that has an official candidacy, so that may
they're all running.
That's
much.
true. But,
Look, they're all coming through here. They're all running. You should have been at some of the earlier house parties and stuff with Governor Perry last time, before he got fatigued, before the back pain really got to him. He gave a very good account of himself. I saw him at Gordon Humphrey's place. I saw him at Ovid Lamontagne's place. I think
I was at that last one. It was. I thought he did.
At the house on the side street in Manchester. Yeah.
Yep.
So under a tent, I'm sure.
Yes, it was under a tent.
He gave a great account of himself, and he greeted everybody. And he remembers people. He remembers people years later. He's been doing the rounds last year and this year, and he remembers the people that came out to see him last time. So
I think it's going to be very interesting once he gets back into this race officially to see how he does. He's got what some people want in terms of executive experience. He kind of straddles that line of I'm a little bit Tea Party, I'm a little bit establishment, and which, considering some of the fractures within the Republican Party might be, what people are looking for. But we'll just have to see.
It might be, and some people see that in Governor Walker. But
right, yes.
But today's topic is, of course, Ted Cruz.
Yes, sir.
And as you're saying, he's generating. Well, I got you off on the sidetrack. He's generating a lot of excitement, and partly because he's the only game in town. It's his 15 minutes of fame. The question is, how long is that going to stretch out? I'm seeing already that he's changing up the presentation in terms of personalizing it for the groups, but not changing the meat of the presentation, the principles on which he stands.
Well, I was actually talking with one of the reporters from the New York Times when we got here earlier this morning, and about just that. The speech he gave last night to the Young Americans. I'm getting the name wrong. The
Young Americans for Freedom or for Liberty.
Yeah. That the group last night. In Nashua, he really delivered a completely different speech than what we heard this morning, what we heard yesterday afternoon in Merrimack. Very different speech, focusing on things that there's been all this talk about whether or not Senator Cruz can bring in the young voters, the new generation, and the speech that he delivered last night, I thought totally tailored to that group of high school and college kids, giving them inspirational messages, giving them something to relate to him about, unlike the other speeches, which are, a lot of, your basic red meat and basic campaign stuff.
That's actually good, but the core, the principles, yes. The things on which he stands, was that any different when he talked to the kids?
No, but he didn't, it was interesting, he didn't, he mentioned those he kind of, obviously the whole speech kind of came from that place of he is Ted Cruz, these are his beliefs, but they didn't. He didn't go into policy at all. Really, he didn't bring up some of his favorite lines that you're hearing. It was still him. It was still Ted Cruz, but it was a relatable speech for the
in
kids.
other words, he didn't use references that the kids wouldn't appreciate or stuff that was too old
No,
or be over their heads.
He talked a lot about social media. He kind of younged himself down for the group. I guess
that's terrific. Could we possibly see the birth of a new great communicator here?
Well, I will not answer that, but I think it's been very interesting seeing, especially the national media. So I'm local media in Texas.
Yeah.
Seeing the national media, seeing national pundits and columnists talking about Ted Cruz is starting this race, and is starting as in last place and is going to end in last place. That he doesn't have a shot. The message, the story that he tells about starting the race as a Senate candidate with 2% of the vote and the margin of error is 3. He says that at almost every single speech.
That was David Dewhurst, right?
That was David Dewhurst, who was the establishment candidate there in Texas. He did come out of nowhere. When he initially started running, media ignored him because he was somebody with absolutely no political background. He was a solicitor general, but he wasn't a politician. Mm-hmm. And he put in the work, and he talked to everybody, and he got the base fired up, and he went around and talked to 400 different Republican groups in the state, and he turned that race around. So I see the articles now about how he's behind now, he doesn't have a chance, he's not going to catch up. I don't know. It's going to be up to the Republican primary voter, but I feel like he's got more of a message that the Republican primary voter will latch on to then and get fired up. I just don't think you can ever turn your back on Ted Cruz or dismiss him as a candidate.
No.
Okay, question for you. When you're listening to the audiences up here and the makeup of those audiences, and this, as we were talking to the 2 former NHGOP chairs, it's a mixed audience here. Compare and contrast, if you could, for us, what's the reception he's receiving here versus what he's receiving back home?
Well, he gets, if you love Ted Cruz, you love Ted Cruz. And there are a lot of people in Texas that love Ted Cruz, and they will show up at, massive events with hundreds and thousands of people and give him, 6 standing ovations like he got in his speech today. He is someone that establishment Republicans, and I hate to just throw labels around.
No,
but
we use them all the time because labels can be useful.
Well, he is not popular among that group. But when you look at who the elected officials are in the state of Texas, our lieutenant governor, who just got elected, who campaigned against Ted Cruz when he was running for U.S. Senate because he was hoping that the current lieutenant governor, David Dewhurst, would win and then he could take his spot. Well, he ended up taking the spot anyway by defeating David Dewhurst in his own election. But the lieutenant governor is very much a Tea Party firebrand. Maybe a third.
You mean the new one?
The new one, yes, sir.
What about Greg Abbott?
Greg Abbott has very strong support in the state. Mm-hmm. I don't think I would call him a Tea Party candidate or a Tea Party governor. He's only been in office a few months. Texas has a weak governorship anyway, so he has not really. He's not put his thumb.
Okay, and we're back.
So we're talking about the dynamic there of the weak governorship, the slightly stronger or boots-on-the-ground nature of the lieutenant governorship.
And those people align, the lieutenant governor and others align more with the kind of conservatism that Ted Cruz is talking about.
And please remind me the name of the current lieutenant governor.
Dan Patrick.
Dan Patrick, okay.
Now, question, how strong was Ted Cruz's campaign staff down in Texas running for Senate? Because that's going to play a big role up here because a lot of us activists, because we're not just, Granite Rock is not just a political blog site, we are political activists that bring that experience back. So we watch all these campaign staffs. So the question is, do you think he can build that? He just got Evan here in New Hampshire. That was a big get.
I think, his campaign did not have a ton of money. He did end up raising a few $1 million. But a few $1 million in the state of Texas is kind of like chump change because we've got 2 time zones and a million miles in between all the cities. You have to do it on plane. You can't do it any other way. But I think he's definitely staffed up for this race. I mean, there are multiple stories out of Washington Post and New York Times talking about the quality of the staff that he's now bringing. Not that the staff in Texas wasn't great, but the staff in Texas was smaller and was, maybe at times less experienced. And then as he got rolling in the campaign, he brought in more people, and I think that's what he's, you're seeing him do that now with the presidential race. He's making sure that he has the, if his people that he currently has aren't the right people, he's getting the right people.
Well, this has been an excellent talk, and I'm getting the sign for the hook they're trying to clean up. And I think, just as always, we literally were the first people here. We probably will be the last people out the door as well. So, Ben, I've got to bring this to a close, but this has been fascinating, and I really do hope that along the campaign trail we're going to run into you again, or if that, we do an internet radio show every Saturday 9 to 11. We'd love to have you call in if that's possible. Let us know how things are going, because I know that we're not going to ask you what your leanings are, but it's interesting to see what the convergence or chasms that will appear as the campaigns go along, and how that relates from your experience in Texas to what we're seeing here in the First in the Nation primary. And I bet you it's going to be different in Iowa, in the caucus states, and back to South Carolina.
It's going to be a fascinating trip.
Oh, it's never boring. And now, are you out on the road permanently now?
No, I'm just doing a week with Cruz. I'll do a week with Perry when he announces, and then we'll drop in, kind of strategically along the way.
I would love to get your ideas on Governor Perry. I certainly have.
I'll be back eventually with him.
His line last time was, my goal is to make Washington, D.C. as
inconsequential in your life as possible.
Right. Yes, that's been a lot of people remember that. It was a great
we like that
line.
We like his support for the 10th Amendment. He's obviously got some baggage because he's been a governor for a while. He's been around a while.
Yeah, but we're trying to get him on the show. But I got to wrap this, Mike.
So sorry.
I want to say thank you very much, Ben, for spending a few minutes with us at Greenwich Rock. And folks, we will be back on our regular time next week, probably back in the studio, and we will bring you more Grok Talk. I'm Skip. He's been Mike. Thank you, Ben, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
GrokTV.